Welcome back. Former KwaZulu-Natal Hawks head Johan Booysen says he was offered bribes and was threatened during a high-profile investigation. The probe was into Durban business tycoon Panday. Now, Booysen is testifying at the state capture inquiry. ENCA's Erin Bates is following the story for us. She joins us now live from the newsroom. So, Erin, Booysen has questions on why Advocate Noko from the NPA in KZN dropped charges against a businessman. Who's he talking about?
Yes, Johan, that's right. Booysen has actually concluded his testimony for today, and those allegations of a bribe stem from yesterday's testimony. He says that Noko really put a stop to the investigation into KwaZulu-Natal businessman Panday, and she is the current DPP of the National Prosecuting Authority in that province. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Two significant things occurred at the time. The investigating officer inquired from her as to why the charges were withdrawn, and she would not respond to the investigating officer. She did not give reasons at that time. The second thing is the investigating officer reported to me that Advocate Noko did not want to return the docket, so she kept the docket with her for quite a period of time. Much later, she issued a media statement, and I do quote that in my affidavit, Chair.
Yes.
That she had withdrawn the charges in the interest of justice.
Now, he also says he should never have been charged with racketeering in the Cato Manor death squad case. Why?
Yes, Johan, Booysen says he went through about 20 dockets relating to that case after one of the arms of litigation was thrown out of court to try and get to the bottom of how he'd ended up being charged with racketeering. He claims that out of those 20 statements, he found 3 cursory mentions of his name and then referred to a review application which was thrown out because, according to the judgment, there was no rational reason to charge Booysen with racketeering over that unit in KwaZulu-Natal. And its moniker, as it's become known, the Death Squad, largely deriving from press reports at the time. Booysen giving us insight into the scrutiny and circus, as he described it, around his arrest in relation to that unit. And he says it was part of what he and others perceived to be a broader project to push back against people who were scrutinizing corruption involving politically connected peoples. Let's take a listen.
I found it strange at the time that there's a review application and I'm not even aware of it. I would have at least expected myself to have been a co-respondent. Subsequent to that, I received a phone call from Advocate Kolisi Mkasana, who had informed me that he had seen the founding affidavit opposed to by Colonel Lavin Madu in the review application. And I cannot remember who favored me with a copy. I might have gotten it through a journalist. And I read the founding affidavit. And the founding affidavit, number 1, Madu lies under oath there because he says that he's a witness in the Cato Manor case, which he's not. He's never been on the witness list. He's never been a witness. But that's not the real problem. The real problem with the founding affidavit is that it's an attack on Advocate Nkasana, an attack on myself, an attack on Mr. McBride from IPIT.
Now, Booysen's also named the Arts and Culture Minister Nathi Mthethwa about a fence around his house. Fences and the state capture inquiry come up all the time. What's the issue now, Erin?
Yes, the inquiry doesn't have a great track record when it comes to fences, or the testimony about fences, I should say. Shahan, this relating to the time Nathi Mthethwa was Minister of Police, and an allegation from Booysen that about 195,000 rand was paid out of a state security account with the input or alleged input of Richard Mdluli, the then head of criminal intelligence, to buy a barricade for the police minister's home. And Booysen's grievance there is that according to a handbook for members of cabinet, including, of course, ministers, the government will pay for up to 100,000 rand in security upgrades. Anything beyond that should be paid by the office bearer, and there's a due diligence process, including a risk assessment, which is required to be done. Booysen's allegations, even though Mthethwa has argued that it was legitimate recently during an interview on radio, Booysen says it didn't follow proper procedure, and this is an example of the fleecing or looting of funds in a state security account that should have been spent on fighting crime.
All right, thanks for that. Appreciate it. Erin Bates monitoring the state capture inquiry.